What's going on, guys? It's Doss. Welcome back to the channel, and this is a how-to turned into a storytime vlog because I'm doing a complete halogen to LED swap. The vehicle featured in this video may not seem familiar to the channel. I'll do a complete walk around in a separate video, but for now I'm just trying to stay as efficient on this one as I can to not drag it out to be a long, boring mess. All right, looks like we got multiple pieces of installation manifestation situations going on here. Big shout out to eBay Motors for the incredible deals that you can find on your aftermarket car parts. Also shout out to Terrell for telling me about eBay Motors, and shout out to Terrell for telling me that my third brake light wasn't working, which I forgot. As you can see, there's nowhere to be found in aftermarket third brake light, but it's all good. We'll do an installation on that one later, because these are going to be later as well. Reason why I'm not going to do these just yet is because I forgot my LED bulbs, as this setup did not come with, but they were nice enough to give you a halogen amber turn signal right there, which I'm not going to use anyway. I'm going to get my LED bulbs and then I'll install this. I just don't want my regular halogen bulb to be in there because it's going to look ugly with the way this color is right here. I'm sure it's like a light white or whatever, and then you got a yellow light on the inside. It's going to look ugly, so I'm not going to worry about that right now. But so I wanted to go with the same look as I'm doing on my first car. It's a 2004 Ford Ranger. I've had it for about 8 years, going on 9 years now, and I like the look of it. Looks like it's factory, but it has the LEDs in there. I just like this look. It looks really nice. Now, I noticed this one has a protruding piece of plastic. Looks like the newer style F-150s. I'm not sure how I feel about that just yet, but I'm sure it's going to look pretty awesome. It's just a reflector, but I mean, I feel like something might be able to get caught up on there. I don't know. It's just a protruding plastic piece. And then you also have the resistor just dangling right here. So you pull this piece of tape off and you stick it onto the inside of the bed of the truck. So, you know, behind the taillight. So we'll see how that goes too. Hopefully the tape will last forever. Who knows? And then this is what I was mostly excited for. This is about an 8-pound setup right here. This thing is really heavy. So you got, I'm not sure what I'll be able to, it's supposed to be plug and play. So hopefully these are power folding, but these are obviously power, well, they should be power folding. You have the puddle light, and then you have the turn signal, and then you have the wiring that's in the box as well for your running light. It's supposed to be, you can keep this light on as a running light. That would be really cool too, as soon as I figure out how to do it. So let's go ahead and get right into the video. But I guess you guys could see the boxes. This is what the mirror was in. It's got these little foam pieces right here. I'm sure you don't need to use these, but that's what you can do right there. I might do that. I don't know, guys. I mean, the running lights would be cool, but I don't have them on the mirrors right now already, but I guess you could do it if you want, right? And then here's your taillights right here, and then here are your headlights just chilling right here. I wonder why they gave you a turn signal, but they didn't give you an actual bulb, you know, for your high beams and your low beams and all that stuff. But it's all good though. It's all good. Let's go ahead and get started with this. All right, so I said a lot in that last clip. I want to go and clarify some things. I've been working on this video for about 3 weeks. So I've obviously had enough time to accumulate everything I was missing in this clip. Every single LED bulb that I need, interior and exterior, all the way around, full, complete LED swap. Obviously, I have those. I have the third brake light assembly. The mirrors, the little small glass at the bottom, that is manual. It is manual telescopic, whatever, and it's manual folding. And I'll also talk myself out of stop being lazy and go ahead and wire the running lights, and they look awesome, complete. The look of the truck, and you guys are going to see that as well. Well, most of it at least, but I'll explain that later once we get to it. Almost forgot about the fog lights and the plate lights. Those are brand new too. Just to answer myself, the reason why they probably gave you just a regular halogen turn signal bulb is because they didn't want to supply you with a resistor, which is what you would need if you have like a regular LED. You know, you might get the hyper flash. Well, a regular LED light doesn't attract enough energy unless you put a resistor on there, which fixes that whole problem. But then the problem with the resistor, as you see on that taillight assembly, you have to hide it somewhere. Sometimes you don't have enough room or whatever the case is. Anyway, I thought I was going to be able to use most of the audio in these clips, but as I expected, nothing but background noise, even though I have the external microphone on right there. But it's all good though. It's better quality anyway, so I'll just go ahead and explain it, most of this stuff, in voiceover like this. As far as tools, I'm using that little toolkit I got from Harbor Freight for like 40 bucks. Got a bunch of common tools in there. I just bought it for emergencies to toss it in the trunk in case you might need it, you know. I recommend do not use any power tools, period, on any piece of plastic on any automobile, because with my luck, I always end up stripping it out, and it's just best to use hand tools so that doesn't happen, you know, especially with aftermarket plastic pieces like this. You definitely don't want to mess that up, because then you have to send it back and do all that crap, and it's just extremely annoying. So in these clips, we're obviously going to be taking off the door panel so we can take those square mirrors off and put the nice laptop mirrors on there. You can take a little flat head and pry off that little plastic piece behind that door panel, which will reveal those two bolts, and you take those two bolts off. By the way, way, the stock mirrors on this Lariat, they do power fold, they're heated, and they have the turn signals with the puddle lights at the bottom. Only thing I lost when I upgraded to the towing mirrors is the power fold, obviously. So nothing happens when you press the button inside the truck. You just hear a nice little click. All right, next you got to take the 2 screws off the bottom of the door panel. I do not pay attention to the size of the sockets. My bad about that. All right, next you're going to take some type of flathead screwdriver or a flathead trim popper piece or whatever. If you do use a screwdriver like I did, just make sure you cover it up so you don't actually scratch your plastic. Like, I think that's why I made that face right there. Or maybe just because it sounds weird. I just don't like to peel up plastic because most of the time it breaks. Anyway, you want to peel that up right there. Then you want to take off all your electrical connections from the back of that switch right there, that panel right there. Oh, look at that. I must have heard my voiceover self. So now I'm actually using a towel to pry up on this piece that covers over these 2 speakers right here. So you want to go ahead and take that off as well. It's just more plastic, more prying, just kind of, ease with it so nothing breaks off. So next you want to take off those screws. They look like they're the same size as the 2 that were on the bottom of the panel, but they're actually a little bit smaller, I believe, or maybe a little bit bigger. But take all 4 of those screws off of that big speaker right there at the bottom. And here's where I messed up at. So after you take off the speaker, you have to unplug the 2 little wires, of course, or the 2 wires that'll be back behind that speaker. But there's some plastic inserts. You only have to take the bottom 2 off. I took all 4 of them off for some reason, but you only have to take the bottom 2 off, so that way you don't end up breaking more plastic. I have like a million of them now because I went to the junkyard and got a bunch more just because I broke those. But you don't have to take off the 2 top plastic screw inserts, just the bottom 2. We got one more bolt. It's actually located inside the door panel behind all those harnesses right there where I have my extension going inside. I think it's the same size as the bolts that were behind the door handle. But that's the last bolt hiding in there. And then once that's done, you just pull up on the door panel and just slide it away from the door. Pull up on it gently so you don't break any of those plastic pieces. Now in these clips, I was so nervous about breaking any plastic, I decided to leave the door cable inside the door handle, which is how you would fully remove the door panel. If you wanted to do that, all you had to do is just push the white part out of the door, the black part on the back of the door right there, as you can see, and then just there's a white part right there, just push it out, and then you would just turn it and then move the cable up out of the back of the door handle. But I decided to just set the door panel on top of a trash can and then leave it there instead of letting it dangle. All right, next just peel off the plastic that covers up these 3 bolts that hold on to the mirror, and then obviously take off these 3 bolts and then unplug that little connector right there on the back. You are going to have to do a little bit of wiggling, as the case with a lot of aftermarket parts, because the wire extension that comes out of the towing mirrors is not even an inch of, like, it barely comes out. You just have the little plastic tab. Obviously, you don't want to pull on either connector too much because it might come off of the wires. But I think initially what I did was I just kind of barely pulled a little bit more. I may have peeled some more of that plastic on the door panel down so I can get to some of those plastic tabs that hold onto the wire to the door and take those off so I can actually like wiggle the wire up just a little bit more. Not too much though. So there's the example on the back of the stock mirror, the amount of reach you have for the connector. It's even worse on the back of the towing mirror. But you gotta just do a little bit of wiggling and just make sure they snap into place. And also I did use those foam inserts on the back of the mirror. It feels like it sits better on the door like that, and since I've seen it already had it on the stock mirrors, I went ahead and did the same with the towing mirrors as well. All right, so these next scenes are just me working quickly to put the door panel back on because my phone was about to die, but it's obviously the reverse as you taking off the door panel. The only thing is just make sure the little plastic lever that pops up when you unlock the door and then goes down when you lock the door, just make sure that's in the little circle that's provided for it first on the door panel, and then you just press the door panel up against the door and easily slide it back down so all the plastic tabs and everything click back into place. That was really the only difficult part for me. Now in these clips, I didn't do the running light wire operation where you plug in the running light harness and then you snake it through the door panels and make it look all nice and neat and you can't even see the wires and stuff like that. Peel up all the plastic trim on the inside of the truck and just kind of make it all nice and neat so you can't even see it underneath the carpet and stuff like that. But a week later, I talked myself out of being lazy and I pulled the door panels back off and eventually did it. I did follow the tutorial that's already out on YouTube right now. In that tutorial, it was only 2 wires. One coming from each mirror, and you just tapped into one headlight and it worked. That is not the case with these mirrors. These mirrors have 2 wires each, so you have a black and a red. I thought the black wire was ground for some reason. I've already experimented and tried everything. Long story short, you have to use the appropriate side headlight for the appropriate side mirror. So if you're working with the left mirror, you have to use the left headlight to tap in. It's not going to work the other way. It's not going to work with just one headlight because I've already tried it and everything. I turned on the left turn signal and the right mirror was flashing for whatever reason. So you can still plug both wires into the appropriate headlight. It just has to be on the right side. So if you're working with the right side mirror right side headlight, left side mirror, left side headlight. So make sure you just keep track of your wires and where they're coming from as you're feeding them through the engine bay and tucking them in, making them all nice and neat. Alright, so for the halogen to LED taillight assembly swap, I did not record because I'm an idiot. I thought that the LED taillight had the wrong connectors on the back because I looked at that little thin tab looking one right there, and I was like, this is not the correct one. That actually goes inside of where the bulb it goes. So you can, because it came with some more connectors like that square one right up there on top. Came with more if you wanted to replace them or not, or you could just use the old ones. But I was looking at the little thin one. I was like, this is not right. So before I sent it back, I figured it out. I'm an idiot. It does work. You just plug that little thin piece into where the bulb goes right there, as you can see on the back of that. Well, that's the new one right there. But they look good, and I figured it out. And yeah, so we're good to go on that. Pull the tailgate down. Then you have the two screws or bolts right there that are holding it in. Then you just kind of wiggle it in to get the little plastic metal tabs out from their place. And it's simple as that. And then you just find a nice spot for the resistor right there. You can see that little box up there, and then you're good to go from there. All right, so now that I found some clips with exceptional dialogue audio, I'm go ahead and let you guys hear that, and I'll just pitch in whenever I need to. Never mind. I feel like it's just better to finish the video like this anyway. It's better quality. Anyway, this last part of the video contains footage that was recorded about a week and a half later due to errors and glitches that needed to be corrected, because with my luck, when you start replacing factory with aftermarket parts, things just start happening. Weird things start happening for no reason at all. Alright, for example, and I think it's my OCD that caught this, the towing mirrors aren't built the same. Like if you look closely, you'll notice the passenger mirror is curved more towards the truck and the driver's mirror is a little bit more straight. Now, what I like to tell my brain so my OCD doesn't eat me alive is that this is on purpose. It's built like the newer Model 4 GT, where I think it's the passenger mirror set back on the door a little bit so you can have better visibility. So I did look around at a couple of other trucks that have the exact same mirror, and some of them are, well, most of the ones I've seen are like that. Maybe I was too far away to notice that they were actually like that, or whatever the case is. Maybe it's an aftermarket tow mirror situation, or whatever the case is. It's kind of curved a little bit just for that better visibility in case. I don't know. But as far as I noticed on driving the truck, I don't really see too much of a difference, you know, but it is what it is, because I did send it back and get another pair, and they were just like that, still the exact same way. So obviously they're meant to be like that. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't mess up two pairs of the same. But anyway, yeah, I noticed that, and I looked at it. I was like, wait a minute, this one's curved like just a little bit. You can barely notice it. But I don't know. I mean, that kind of bothered me a little bit until I got to the bottom of it. It's the same thing, at least with this towing mirror. It's the same thing. So it is what it is. Whatever, I'll deal with it. Now, another problem or error, long story short, the aftermarket third brake light was the reason why the cluster keep alive fuse kept blowing. Now, it was the exact same fuse that I replaced in that last video where I talked about the battery dying on the truck. And I know that it worked at the last part of that video, but I left the truck sitting for about another 3 days and it blew again. So I put another one in and it blew again. So obviously there was a short somewhere in the system. And I remembered that the aftermarket third brake light didn't come with a little plastic tab that you see right there on the factory third brake light. So I don't know if that's removable or not. I didn't really want to try it, so I just went ahead and found the order that those little metal tabs are supposed to be in. Obviously, you have red, white, and black. So I found the order that works for those right there, and I put them in. So I figured I wanted to retrace. I obviously had to retrace my steps because the fuse started blowing after I put all of this aftermarket stuff on here, obviously. So I knew it was something was touching where it wasn't supposed to. So I feared for the worst, but I didn't want to rip up the whole left side and the right side of the engine bay, which I tucked all the wires for the mirrors all nice and neat down in there. I really didn't want to rip all that back up just to find maybe there's a spot where I cut the wire and forgot about it, forgot to wrap it with electrical tape and all that stuff. I really didn't want to do that. So I just thought, I was like, wait a minute. I remembered that the aftermarket third brake light, it didn't come with a little plastic tip. And I know those little metal tips had the potential of touching each other like they were already doing when I was installing it. I was like, wait, let me just try that real quick. So I got some shrinks and I shrinked all three of those little metal heads, pause, and I shrinked them all, put a little rubber protector around them so they wouldn't touch each other, and the fuse stopped blowing out. So hopefully that was no more fuse blowing, but I really didn't want to rip up that whole left side and right side of the engine bay again. I mean, all that stuff came out. I took out the battery, I took that little reservoir right there for the coolant off. All that stuff made it nice, and you can't even see the wires for the mirrors if you try. Well, if you paid attention. Anyway, the point is, it was a third brake light that was blowing out the fuse because those little metal tabs up there were touching each other. But I shrinked them, and now they're not touching anymore. So no more fuse blowing, and I think we're good to go on there. All right. Also, I know I didn't show the installation of these headlights, but it's incredibly easy. I know I had them on here already. It just had to swap out the LED bulbs. It's incredibly easy though, guys. You just got three, well, bolt right there, a bolt right there, and then a bolt right there. Peel this little plastic top part off and just wiggle it out. Easy as that. And those are the LED bulbs in there already. Had to go on a scavenger hunt to find them because I've had them for a while, just haven't had time to make this video. But I tried to line up the LEDs in the same position as the one over there, at least the headlight right here. And then look at that. Nice. That thing is bright. That is a bright one. I dropped the other one on the other side, and it's still pretty bright, so hopefully it stays. So now I'm going to work on putting these in here. If you don't know what these are for your plate, your license plate right here. And I think all you do, let's get down here and lay on the pavement. Yeah, exactly. All you do, you see it's right there. All you do is just pinch it. I think it's in there. There you go. It just fell out. All right. Take that out. Let's toss that right there. And then slide that right up in there. I gotta put the phone down though. Alright, this last part of the video contains POV footage of me replacing the fog light assemblies with brand new ones, and the LEDs are in there as well. I swapped those out. And I am using a power tool now because this is a steel bumper with metal brackets, so it's not the same as the interior. If you were to use a power tool in there, you'd be stripping everything out. This is not the case with that, and this tool is not strong enough to strip anything out anyway. Anyway, as I'm doing this, I'm going to talk about the mirror situation because that was definitely the most tedious and ridiculously annoying part about this. I was just lazy and didn't want to do everything at once. Decided to do the wiring for the running lights later, and I'm glad I did because they look really amazing. The lights are nice and bright, and it felt like it was something missing with the truck. But anyway, yeah, so I did follow the tutorial that's already out on YouTube right now. It's a different type of towing mirror. It's a newer like towing mirror with the one with the curve on the top. And this pretty much just, you know, you got to hide the wires, snake the wires through everything and make it look all nice and neat so you don't even see anything. But the difference between that tutorial and mine was that those mirrors only had one wire coming from each. So he had two wires altogether for each mirror. That's not the case with me. I mean, well, he just tapped into one headlight with those two. He tapped into one headlight with both mirrors. That's not the case with me. I have to use the appropriate side headlight for the appropriate side mirror. So I'm working with 4 wires. So if I got the 2 wires from the right side mirror, I have to use the right side headlight. If I have to have the 2 wires for the left side mirror, I have to use the left side headlight. So it's like I already explained before, but it's a little bit different, and I actually had to use both headlights, so I had to do more snaking and tugging in and making sure everything. So I did pretty much rip up the whole entire left side and the right side of the engine bay just to make sure the wires were tucked in nice and neat and all protected, and looks almost factory. You wouldn't be able to tell unless you really knew what to look for. But anyway, yeah. So we got this fog light assembly coming out right here. This is the old one with the halogen light in there as well. And I already have the LED bulb and the new assemblies. I'm just gonna pop those out real quick and then put the new ones in as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. You know how it is with me. It's kind of a how-to, but not really. I'm just telling you guys what I did, my experience on doing what I did. But these last clips, I didn't think I was going to add them in the video, but I guess I'll go ahead and will. These are junkyard clips of me and Turner just visiting the junkyard because, like, throughout all, you best believe, I did break a lot of plastic parts and stuff like that. Mostly for the interior of the door, like the door panel and stuff like that. So we had to go look for some, scavenge through some junkyard parts and everything like that. Like, I had to plastic weld like one of the tabs on the back of the door panel on the driver and the left side because I didn't want it. I mean, I just didn't want it to be loose. I broke it off when I took it off, whatever the case was. But this is a raw take, by the way. This is where I do the raw takes at the end of the video because nobody really lasts this long anyway. So, but yeah, I got some spare fuses for the Taurus and all that good stuff, and a lot of plastic parts and screws and stuff like that for the door panel of the F-150. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed those too. Just add some music or whatever, because I'm done with the voiceover. It's a raw take right here. I'm not even gonna. This is it. This is me right here. Like, this is raw take. Like, you don't understand like how many like all those takes I did right there. Like, it takes me like maybe like 10 or 20 like to actually get it right, and even then I still don't like it. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for more, and that's it.